What's up everybody, it's Man of Low Moral Fiber here. My name's Luke, and in this video I'll be running through Heroes Pass at Overpower level 8 using Maya the Siren. I will be utilizing my blurred Trickster build in an effort to maximize the potential of the Pimpernel. The blurred Trickster build gives me 5 extra points in chain reaction, and on top of the 5 I actually put into the skill, that gives me 10 total points, which gives me an 80% chance that when I shoot an enemy while I have an enemy phase locked, that my bullet will reflect onto a nearby enemy. And when this happens with the Pimpernel, anytime any particular part of the bullet reflects, whether it be the main bullet or one of the 5 child orbs, upon reflection to another enemy, it will then create 5 more child orbs. And in this way, if you have enemies mobbed up, you're able to deal a lot of damage to an entire group of enemies at a time. And Maya's already great at crowd control, but with a Trickster comm, she's even better at it. The Trickster comm also has some additional boost to life tap and kinetic reflection, which definitely gives me a solid survivability boost with this particular build as well. At overpower levels, you only need just about 1 point, to be honest with you, in life tap in order to keep you above health gate after a kill. But, with my comm, I think I have 6 total points in it because I put 2 points in life tap. I'm probably going to take that extra point out of life tap and put it in inertia in order to give me just a little bit better reload speed. Probably also take the point out of fleet, since I don't really switch to the Rough Rider and Banshee comm too often for movement speed. But that 1 point in fleet is there for utility should you ever need to run fast, because you can just equip a +6 fleet Banshee comm and then a Rough Rider, and you'll have plus 70% movement speed. Or at least that was my theory, but I've noticed that while I was playing Maya, I never really had a use for that. It might be more useful if you were, say, running through the story with friends or something. But that's not really what I was doing, so I should probably make use of those, kind of extra or fringe skill points that I did have. Anywho, basically what I was saying is, if you have a Trickster comm that adds an additional 4 points to life tap, and you already had only 1 point in life tap, that would give you 5 total points in life tap, and at overpower 8, that's going to be more than enough to keep you well above health gate. Right now, I am trying desperately to not die to this RPG loader. Life tap is active, but I can't really get a shot on him in order to recover my health. Luckily, my transfusion trails came in, and they were able to put me above health before that EXP loader got there, that exploder. And then I was able to come back with a phase lock and kill that rocket loader. Rocket loaders are some of the tougher enemies on this map, basically because if they have a particular type of rocket, they can kill you very easily, and even if you're behind cover and stuff. Same with a particular Hyperion predator that might also have an E-Tech launcher. The Hyperion predators can sometimes be even more dastardly than the RPG loaders because they run around and move a little bit faster, and can even be picked up by the surveyors and kind of flown over to your area, which can definitely be irritating, but other times they sneak up on you a little bit better than RPG loaders do. However, those are the 2 enemies that are probably the most dangerous on this map. There are also a couple constructors that spawn, and I'll explain why I think the smaller constructor is actually the harder of the 2 if you're using this particular build. Or just any build, I guess, that has chain reaction with Maya. But especially if you're boosting chain reaction. And we'll get to that, at the end of this map when the time comes. I should also note that at the end of the video, I will give you a look at my gear and skill build. So right now, I'm approaching what I think is basically the second pinch point on the map, and probably the hardest part of the map, to be completely honest with you. The first pinch point is that area we just kind of crossed a minute ago, where you actually have to make that jump in order to get across to the other side of the bridge. And I think that is the only jump that is actually required in the main campaign of Borderlands 2 to actually beat the game. I could be wrong, but I think that is the only jump that you actually need in order to beat the game. I'm trying to think back on any part of the game where you might need it, but I'm drawing blanks. So what I did here to try to deal damage to the constructor was phase lock an enemy in order to gain the wreck bonus to further boost my fire rate as well as my damage. And I wasn't able to kill the constructor, unfortunately. There's no other enemy near it, so I'm not going to get any good chain reaction bounces. I was still able to deal about half its health. I was then using life tap to face tank the constructor just a little bit, and now I have life tap active again, so I'm going to shoot at it a little bit more. And that's where I finally took out the constructor. I think that constructor is a little bit harder to take out than the constructor at the end of the map, because the badass constructor will actually have little turrets on either side of him that actually count as separate enemies, and chain reaction can proc onto those and then back onto the constructor, and like that you'll be able to deal most of the constructor's health before those turrets die. And because of that, I actually killed the large constructor quicker than I killed that small constructor, which is kind of weird. Another thing that makes this little part of the map difficult is because in front of you there will be multiple Hyperion personnel that spawn, perhaps a Hyperion predator or Hyperion sharpshooter. And the sharpshooters can be almost equally dangerous to the predators because they often carry a large chance of applying a damage over time. Obviously any sniper rifle has a high elemental chance, so long as it's an elemental sniper rifle at least. They are obviously non-elemental sniper rifles, especially Jacob sniper rifles, which they never do come in elements at all. Except for, I guess, the Cobra, which is technically explosive, but not really. It's basically a non-elemental gun as well, except it doesn't get non-elemental boost from duty calls, I believe. That might all be heresy. I could be saying all that wrong, especially the way I said heresy, or heresy, whatever. Anywho, moving on, not worrying about that. I am, though, worrying about these enemies that are spawning behind me, because this can be a pretty difficult area that spawns behind you, too. Sometimes when I run through Heroes Pass, I just run through all of that, and don't really worry about it, because they often spawn behind you if you're moving quick enough. But I wanted to kill all the enemies this particular run for whatever reason, and so I take my time to deal with these enemies back here as well. There are often multiple rocket loaders that spawn in this particular area, as well as war loaders and badass loaders as well. I've actually had a situation where 2 ultimate badass loaders spawned in there, and it was pretty tough. I was playing as Melee Zero at the time, and they almost killed me, but I was able to get through them. Anywho, I think this is the last enemy of those enemies that were back there, and so we'll be moving on into the next area of the map. After we get through these guys up here, we will eventually come across the next pinch point in the map, where there are going to be 2 Hyperion personnel at first, and then 2 warloaders, a few more Hyperion personnel, and an ultimate badass loader after you kill one of the warloaders. And I noticed, especially on Melee Zero, that area can sometimes be a little hectic. However, with Siren, this next area is actually pretty easy, because I'm able to phase lock the tougher enemies from afar and not have to really get that close to them. That area we just passed was probably the hardest area of the map as Siren. And what's strange about that is I find this next area of the map hardest with Zero. And that last area to be kind of, not trivial, but definitely easier with Zero than it was with Maya, because he's more suited to take out that small constructor than Maya is. Obviously, both Zero and Maya are really good at taking out the large constructor at the end, because Zero can bore through his little turrets on the side, whereas Maya can kind of chain reaction those guys. So here's this pinch point I'm talking about, which usually gives me a little bit of trouble with Melee Zero. There's going to be a couple Hyperion personnel that spawn over by that door, and sometimes those can be Hyperion predators, which are pretty tough. However, this particular time they didn't end up being that bad. Sometimes they also end up as Hyperion spooks, which can be a little bit difficult because those disappear, and Zero can't melee them when they disappear. Most of the time they disappear. Sometimes when they are disappeared, you're still able to melee them, but most of the time not. I should also mention that when I have my kill skills active, I have 1 point in kinetic reflection, but my comm boosts it to 5 points, so that almost no bullets that actually hit me will be doing very much damage at all. And on top of that, I am wearing an antagonist, so even more bullets are deflected and, you know, basically ignored. And some of them are absorbed with the antagonist, I believe. It's a absorb shield, more or less. Same with the blockade, but the blockade is a completely different case. It just has the, you know, shield box outline that absorbs shields like the antagonist, normal absorb shields, and the sham have. You'll notice how it has that, I don't know what you'd call it, a ghost box around the ordinary border. Just that couple extra lines there that let you know that it is indeed a absorb shield. And between the antagonist and kinetic reflection, I never have to really worry about getting shot too bad, or at least if it's only one enemy I can kind of run up with them and have my way, or at least until phase lock comes back and my kill skills kind of go away. So here we are getting to the end of the map. They're going to bring in this super badass constructor now, and we'll see how chain reaction works on this guy. This was pretty much the reason that I had done the whole run, because I knew that at the very end this particular constructor would be fairly easy to take out. I am going to leave one of those sergeant loaders though, so that I can phase lock an enemy in order to activate chain reaction. So now that we have that guy phase locked, we'll aim for the turrets, and as you can see, it really tore through most of his health there. He's only got about a third of his health left, and in the shipping container we're able to just kind of stand here and take him out. So I feel like we even have a better vantage point on this particular constructor than we did on the small constructor, which is kind of ironic that what is supposed to be the bigger, larger constructor ends up being by far the easier of the two. So I'll go ahead and show you my gear and skill build. I do thank you guys very much for watching. If you haven't yet, please take the time to subscribe. Otherwise, I hope to catch you next time. Bye guys.